Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and today we are going to take a look at the full moon in Aquarius, which is coming through today. It is a big day. If you've been following my channel, you know that we have a number of aspects all unfolding simultaneously, some of them coming through over the weekend, some of them finishing up today. So we're going to take a look at all of the astrology. And today, rather than trying to analyze all of the little parts, I thought I would give you 5 things to remember when astrology goes bonkers. It's like, here's 5 things to remember when the astrology gets really loud and we have this full moon with a T-square to Uranus, and we've got, 4 planets hitting a T-square in mutable signs all at the same time. Like, what do you do when there's so many planets hitting at once that it's a little overwhelming? So I have some thoughts that I'm going to share with you today. I hope that they are useful. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe. We are over 67,000, on our way to 68,000 subscribers now. We're seeing what we can do before the fall equinox. I feel like we're going to get close. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you to everyone who has been subscribing and helping us grow and build the channel and the community and our business. We really deeply appreciate you. And we also want to remind you that you can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on the website, which is nightlightastrology.com. 2 other things that I want to mention. One is that our beginners course is on sale. We have a new beginners course. This is for people who are brand new to astrology and looking for a way to start understanding what it is that you're getting interested in. I know what that's like. You get interested in astrology, you go, wow, there's something here, but I don't really understand the language. I don't really understand what I'm looking at. Feels like a little bit of Greek to me. We have designed a very, very beginner's course called Astrology Essentials. This is something that people could take before they take our first year program, which is the first 1-year certification course that leads into our second, third year programs in horary. The Astrology Essentials program is on sale between now and August 27th. The normal price will be up on September 15th when the course is also released. It is a recorded course. There are 8 modules. They're going to introduce you to all of the basic features of astrology so that you can move forward feeling like you know a thing or two as someone who is more of a newcomer to the subject. At the bottom, you'll find the early bird payment. Everything is recorded. You can move at your own pace through the material that is hosted on a class website. So that is a little announcement there. My event, I have a live webinar this week. Go to Live Talks under Events, and you will see that this Thursday, August 22nd, I'm giving a talk on the 8th house called The Place of Karmic Debts. We are going to dive deep into the topics of the 8th house, where they get their meaning from, what you should and shouldn't be freaked out by about the 8th house. I think this is a topic that is really important. A lot of people get pretty worried about the 8th house. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about where that house and its meaning comes from for thousands of years. And in getting to know it, we know exactly what we're looking at in our own birth charts when we have planets in the 8th house or transits to the 8th house, which can do nothing but help, in my opinion. Okay, so all of that being said, I'm going to switch over to the real-time clock now, and let's take a look at what's perfecting the big astrological freakout to start our week. So, whoops, here we go. Let me move this a bit. So here we can see that the full moon is coming through today, and that full moon is happening it looks like between about 1 and 2 o'clock Central Time. That's the time zone I'm in. But here you can see full moon and the full moon. Oh, you know what? We were practicing in one of my programs. We practice without the outer planets, and then we bring them back in as a kind of learning strategy. So here we have the T-square to Uranus from the sun and moon. So this full moon is a full moon with a square to Uranus. It's a very powerful full moon. You always look at what's happening around the time of a newer full moon to get a feeling for what the themes and symbolism will be. And a full moon is a powerful event, and put it in a square with Uranus, which means the sun is also square to Uranus, and you have a very dynamic full moon. We will also see here that if we back this up just 2 days to Saturday, August 17th, between Saturday the 17th, this past weekend, and Sunday, Mercury went through a square to Uranus and Cazimi with the sun as the full moon was forming, and is now coming out, recovering from combustion. So we have a critical shift in Mercury's synodic cycle taking place with a big square to Uranus at the same time as the Cazimi. That was over the weekend. You probably experienced that Saturday and Sunday. You're coming off from that today into a full moon T-square with Uranus. And as if that isn't enough, look at what is also forming in the sky in the mutable signs. We have Venus going through an opposition. This is between Sunday, the 18th, and today, 19th. We have a T-square between Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, and Mars, all in the double-bodied signs of Virgo, Gemini, and Pisces. So this T-square perfects yesterday into today. So we get this full moon on the actual day of the Jupiter-Saturn square. That is incredible. I mean, that is a remarkable, remarkable set of astrological events all congregating around a very dynamic Uranian full moon. Remember, this isn't a Uranus like just a normal everyday Uranus. This is a Uranus that's also carrying the signature, carrying forth the ripples and shockwaves, you might say, of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that took place back in April, on April 20th. So we're in a Jupiter-Uranus year. We're in a Jupiter-Saturn year. Those are big, dynamic, collective cycles that have a great impact on us personally and historically or collectively. By the way, I wanted to let all of you know, one of my former students, this is a little segue, one of my former students and alumni who has gone on to be quite successful, her name is Lori Lothian. She came through the Nightlight programs in like 2018 and has really taken off with her astrological career. She hosted me on her channel to talk about the Jupiter-Saturn square. So we did that. And then there have been like literally, I don't know, like at least 100 people asking me if I'm going to talk about the election this year. The answer to that is no, I will not be, not on my channel. However, I did accept an invitation to talk about a horary chart that I cast for the election on Lori's channel, who the focus of her channel is very much mundane and political astrology. So if anyone wants to hear my 2 cents, which are really just worth that, about 2 cents, I will be on her channel for an election panel that she's having, where she's having a bunch of astrologers on to talk about the election. And I was like, you know what? I will accept that invitation. That was nice of her to include me. And I always, for the sake of learning, every election year, I've cast a horary for the election. And so I'll continue that tradition on her channel, not my own. But anyway, the point is that we are in a very historic moment. Not only is it an election year, but these historical cycles are of great, tremendous importance to us personally, which is more the focus of my channel, of course. And so what we want to do on a day like today is say, we move basically, in my opinion, when it's on the day of. I mean, last week, we broke down all of these transits from a number of different angles. We looked at Mars, Saturn. We looked at Jupiter, Saturn. We looked at Venus, Saturn. We looked at Uranian signatures. So I want to say a few things, only a few things about the themes that you should watch for right now. And then I want to talk about 5 things to remember when the astrology gets loud, or you could say the astrology goes nuts. So the first thing I want to say is a Uranian full moon means, just think about what full moons mean in general. Let me turn this off for a second. Hi. So what does a full moon mean in general? You think of the full moon as the time at which the bush that's full of berries. I think when I was a kid, we would walk. My grandfather had about 88 acres of land, and we would walk back in the woods. There were these trails, and we would walk on the trails, and there were raspberry and blackberry bushes, and they would just be full of berries. And it was great. We'd take a bowl back, we would pick them, come back. My grandma would let us put some on vanilla ice cream. It was so delicious. But that is what a full moon is like. Hopefully it's delicious, but it is like a bush that's just full of berries. Now, those berries are the fruit of prior cycles and actions of karma. Karma meaning just the world of cause and effect, the world where there are chains of actions and reactions that we live in. That karma is just another way of saying the material world and all of its mysterious interactions and cycles of cause and effect. So you reach a full moon moment, and things that have history, that have come from a new moon, metaphorically speaking, things that have backstory, things that have been in process, just like it's taken a long time for fruit to actually develop on a bush, are now appearing. They're made manifest. So full moons are great moments of manifestation. Manifestation, not like I don't think of that word in this context as like staring at a board and trying to get a Ferrari. No offense. But I think of it as, oh, we all have patterns of action and behavior, patterns of perception, patterns of communication and relationship. And those patterns reach a peak moment where they bear fruit, act in the same way all of the time. And if you're practicing an instrument, you'll get good at the instrument. If you worry all the time, you'll eventually reach a moment where your worry comes back to you in a kind of feedback mechanism that we call karma. You get what I mean? So it's not that mysterious. Full moons are great moments of manifestation. Now, what kind of manifestation is an Aquarian Uranian full moon? First of all, it'll probably impact us collectively. You're more likely with a full moon in Aquarius square Uranus to see this kind of moment of greater karmic fruiting and manifestation in the collective, because Aquarius is a sign that often points to collective dimensions of our human experience. And so that's one thing, is that this is a full moon that you may very much see in the news. Now, on the other hand, when it's Uranian, you also think of unexpected, disruptive events, events that happen suddenly, that have an erratic nature, and that quickly, rapidly revolutionize circumstances and situations. So Uranian full moons are great moments of manifestation. You have a little collective signature in Aquarius, and you have a very disruptive, erratic, revolutionary signature with Uranus. So that kind of energy with the sun and Mercury retrograde in Leo will also pull on the dichotomy between the collective and the personal. Because we are individuals, we are not a part of a collective. We can identify with various groups, but we are also a part, utterly unique. Just like snow is, like snowflakes are all part of the snow that's falling, but they're also completely individually, the crystals are totally unique. Something like that. That's a very Leo Aquarius kind of analogy. And that's the kind of tension that we may also feel in the air. And that tension is also being amplified by the disruptive, erratic Uranian qualities of this full moon. So that's a lot. That's a big full moon. It's a full moon that can provide us with tremendous breakthroughs, because all of these planets are also in fixed signs, solid signs, where things tend to endure and repeat. And yet now we have, in the late degrees of these signs with the Uranian full moon, we have the potential for patterns to express themselves in ways that necessitate that the pattern be broken and a different pattern come in. The late degrees of solid signs are like that, because they move toward the mutability of the next sign, which is where our other T-square is happening, by the way. So the other T-square happening in the mutable signs with Jupiter-Saturn involved engages us in another great signature of collectivity. Now, collectivity, when it comes to the personal level, usually has to do with what paradigms, structures, beliefs are informing the organization and cohesion of our personal lives. And those are going through a period of reform or reflection or revision or breakdown and change. That's a Jupiter-Saturn cycle. Jupiter-Saturn challenges and requires some kind of reorganization or revisioning of various structures and systems in our life that are ideally meant to provide unity for us. That could be your personal philosophy. That could be how you work as a parent or in relationships or at your job or with money. So that kind of huge Jupiter-Saturn dynamic is also popping at the time of the very Aquarian collective full moon square Uranus. It's a moment of revolutionizing structures and paradigms. And with a kind of erratic, disruptive signature of Uranus right in the mix. So Venus coming through the T-square at the same time suggests that some relationships are going to be stressed, strained, challenged, or even require that we let go of in order to create the kinds of systematic changes that the moment is requiring. So certain relationships may need to go, or certain relationships may have to really work very hard to find the ideal level of compromise so that these changes can take place. There you have it. So, anyway, that is like my quick, sloppy summary of everything happening today. But what I want to talk about are 5 things to remember when astrology gets loud. And to me, these are how you survive a moment like this, or what you do about a moment like this, especially if there's just a lot of things happening. And often in the mix of such moments, a lot of things happen. And we don't know exactly what to do with everything that's happening because you're in the midst of it. It is a very loud, busy, fated period of time right now where a lot of timelines and histories in our lives, choices, patterns, behaviors are coming together and coalescing in a very dynamic couple of days. Some of us are going to experience that really powerfully depending on where it's aligned in our birth charts. Some of us may experience it a little bit more peripherally. You may notice it going on in someone else's life around you, but if you pay attention to astrology, you probably will notice it. So what do? One, just remember this is a destined moment. Pop a bag of popcorn. It's like when destiny is starting to roll through life, like step out of the controller and step into the observer. Okay, there's some things that are popping off right now. And when you're in that position, to me, it's a bit like, if you've ever been in a crisis situation, but it's not you, it's someone else around you. So you're in a public place and someone is starting to have a heat stroke or something. You step out of your normal role as like a shopper walking around outside or whatever, and you step into like a supportive role. Like, how can I be? Someone's already calling someone, okay, but I'm just gonna stand here and make sure everything's okay. When astrology gets really busy, it's important that you just step out of the normal stream of like trying to be in control of everything and trying to just keep doing everything as normal. And sometimes you just need to step out, take a little downtime, be a little reflective, create a little bit more space than you usually would, cancel a few things if you need to, and just change your consciousness so that you can step into the receiver, the observer, and the servant of the moment. How do you do that? But you start by saying this is a destined moment. It's important that I tend to it like the priest or priestess that I have in my heart that follows astrology. All right. Number 2, this moment is offering feedback because we helped to create it on some level. I am not someone who likes to blame everybody for every single thing that happens because I think fate and karma are deeply mysterious, and our timelines and our choices interact with the souls of so many other people for so many beautiful and mysterious reasons we can't possibly wrap our heads around it all. So I don't like to say, well, you created this, So it's such a, I don't know. It's too heavy. I can't get down with that. But what I can agree to is that any fated moment, especially the busy, dynamic, stressful ones where lots of changes happen quickly, we feel a little overwhelmed. This moment is offering us feedback because we participated in the creation of it on some level. You don't have to take responsibility for all of it, but if we can find a little reflection, a little insight, a little feedback to help us understand a little of our participation in our creation, that is really useful, especially if it's stressful. And it's also a great time if things are going well and everything's popping off in a way that's supportive and interesting and exciting. Is you also take a moment to say, how did I participate in creating this? Um, what this is the fruit of my labor, take a moment to appreciate it. And that's my third point is that we're successful. People always say like, I just want to make sure that I use this energy in the right way. There's no right way to use energy in eternity. Well, this is a radical idea, but hang with me for a second. It's more about being able to appreciate what comes forth from our acts and choices, right? It's like, it's not like, I don't think that the universe looks at our choices and our decisions and gives us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You go to heaven, you go to hell. That there's that kind of judgment system at work strikes me as, at the very least, a very like dense and not so great level of consciousness that we experience, that kind of judgment, that kind of ascent or descent. I think that any given moment in life that we experience is successful insofar as we have the capacity in our hearts and our minds to appreciate it, to see the divine and the fingerprints of heaven and the fingerprints of eternity and the gods and goddesses on our lives, on experience itself. If we have an appreciating capacity, that will always be more important than whether we got something right or not. That if we do get something right, it's better than to dwell on our rightness and having got it correct, which will put us on a high horse and start taking us out of whatever position likely got us some kind of good karma, which is probably humility, right? And it'll put us in the position of arrogance. So it's much better, even when good things happen, to stand back and appreciate. Right? It just means gratitude. It means standing back and being impressed at the beauty and grace and mercy of the universe. We are successful in most instances, not whether we get a good or bad result in some relatively defined terms, but insofar as we're able to stand back and appreciate beauty and appreciate truth. Okay, just a thought. Number 4, stay curious. When things are happening, and there's a lot of things happening all at once right now, stay curious, stay interested. I had a professor of logic, which is a particular class, like a particular type of class in philosophy, actually. And it's like symbolic forms of logic that are at play in how we reason and think. And I loved that class. It was really interesting. So in the logic course, I had the professor that said, we're all going to have problems in life. And he was talking about the problems of logic that we were encountering in class. And what logic teaches us is that one of the biggest blessings we could have, because problems are a guarantee, they're not really an option. You're going to have problems in life. At least let our problems be interesting. The best thing we could ask for is an interesting set of problems. And I agree. And that's what I mean by stay curious. That's what I mean by we're successful insofar as we can appreciate. It's our interest in our appreciating capacity. And because those things come from a humble heart that doesn't think that we know it all, that doesn't think we deserve it all, that doesn't think we're undeserving either, but just curious and appreciative. That mindset is liberating. And the same thing happens when other people are talking to us. We've said recently, we were talking about Jupiter Gemini. We said one of the greatest things we can do if we really want to build intimacy with other people is to free them of the ideas that we have about them, especially people we think we disagree with or that we're better than. Stay curious. In these moments in astrology, it's so easy to become reactive because the events are strong. Stay curious instead. See what happens. And then 5, you can take time to make big decisions. Often these events come up and make us feel like we're at a crossroads and we have to make big choices quickly. A choice about a relationship, a job, a financial decision, whatever the case may be. Although sometimes, necessity is the mother of invention. We have to move quickly. We have to come up with something. We have to come up with a solution quickly. That can be a part of a moment like this. The other truth is that we usually have a little bit more time than we think we do. A little bit at least, if not a lot more. And it never hurts to say, I'm going to sit with this. And then 2 things. 1, just go on living and let that same part of you that randomly remembers the song lyric later when you can't remember it now, that same part of your brain will help you come up with the right thing. You're trusting some higher faculty to do the organizing for you. And you're not telling your small part of your brain, which is a great part, but it's like the small brain. We're going to let the capital I intelligence, not the little b brain, take over, and an answer will just arise in a few days. The other thing that's true is that you can sit over the course of a few days and think, and really think about it, but not just from one position. Move around the problem like a meditation and think and sit with it and really deeply consider. But we have more time than we usually think we do. And when things get really dynamic and intense, we often feel, because especially when it's erratic Uranian events like a full moon as this one is, we can feel like I got to react quickly and suddenly. I got to make a big change. And you may need to make a big change. It doesn't hurt to take a little time and digest if you can. Not all situations will allow for it, I know, but sometimes we forget that. And then we don't make the best possible decision because we haven't digested. All All right, that's what I have for you for today. Don't forget our absolute essential beginners class is on sale through the 27th of this month. I hope you'll take advantage of it. 8th house webinar Thursday night. You can find those things on the website, nightlightastrology.com. We will see you again tomorrow.